Hi! Welcome to all the Boston Viewpoints. I actually don't know if it's all of them, but it's all of them in sequence 2. There's still a bit of the map that's left undiscovered, but maybe in this game they are going to force you to explore some of it by hand, which is actually kind of nice. I like the fact that the viewpoints don't unlock the entire map. Anyway, I'm just going to tag them one by one on the map. And at the moment I'm running ×2, but later on, once you've got a feel of the city, I'll speed it up to ×4. I like to pause and read the animus entries too when I'm going around the city, but I've cut those out so that you don't have to sit through them. But I will tell you some of the more interesting ones because it's a history lesson. And that's actually one of the things I quite like about Assassin's Creed. The fact that if you want to dip in, you can learn quite a lot about the place that you're at. Here is the first viewpoint. Well, the first viewpoint is the church in Mission 2 of Sequence 2, so I guess this is technically the second. And there's some quite amazing things to see. I love the dockyards. There's a couple of ships that are being built. Once you've climbed a viewpoint, there's the next one. Once you've climbed a viewpoint, you want to jump off into a nearby hay bale. And generally it's pretty good at tracking, but you'll see on my second climb it fails pretty miserably. Fortunately there's not a huge punishment for death, so that's good. I also check a couple of shops just because I'm wondering when I'll be able to start buying treasure maps, because I want to start finding all the almanac pages, obviously. And I do a little bit of free running and then fail to jump onto that pole pretty significantly. Fortunately you can swim in this one. I think you can swim in the second one, but the first one you definitely couldn't. I think it was insta-death if you went in the water, which was always a little bit annoying. This is a peddler. They kind of wander around town. It was interesting to see, but they only sell consumables at the moment, so cartridges and smoke bombs, of which I need neither. And here is the next point. All of these are really easy to climb. There was only one that gave me any kind of trouble at all. Well, two, I guess, technically. One because you had to fiddle around a bit to get up it, and the other because it was being watched by guards, which I thought was quite neat. But I guess because this is the first city, they're all going to be pretty straightforward anyway. Anyway, that's number, 2? Looking at the beautiful city, and Boston's pretty well developed at this time. I imagine these guys have made an effort to get historical accuracy. Yeah, this is the one I missed. Look, it should be pretty easy to get, right? Where are we going next? We are off to this one, quite nearby. See, and even fail. Even in the email from Danny Wallace, I forget who he plays. He said that aiming and tracking would be easier, and it's really not. I think it's, as bad, if not worse, as the previous ones, but you learn to work around it. That being said, I do like the new little sidestep. That's kind of fun. When you are running around, if you just tap left or right, you sort of do a sidestep instead of changing direction, which is neat. It helps you dodge people a little better. Anyway, this one's quite pretty with the sunset. Sunrise, I guess, maybe. I also noticed clocks on buildings are actually activated, which is a neat touch, so you can tell what time it is. And there's some treasure, which was unlocked, which is interesting. Now, this is going to take us to picking locks, which is something I don't like. They have implemented this really poorly, I think, and okay, yeah, sure, picking locks is tough. It's actually not that tough. If you've ever seen a video on YouTube, all you've got to do is find the tumblers. But you have to rotate the left stick, then the right stick to find out where it is, and then mash the right trigger. And it's just it's foolish, because the left stick and the right stick, once they're in place, and it's quite a fine tune, right? They've got to be in a very specific place. Once you start mashing the right trigger, your right thumb, it's easy to kind of lose position, and then you've got to start again, and it's just a frustrating experience. And I'm sure there'll be points where you've got to pick something quickly because there are guards coming, and that's fine. And maybe with practice it'll get better, but it just seems, lame. I would rather they went for a Fallout style thing, where you've got a limited number of lockpicks that you can break, rather than it's just a frustrating experience. Anyway, on to the roofs now. And I'll slow down to ×1 for combat, because it's quite interesting. I was trying to do a ledge assassination on that guy, but I guess with the fence in the way it didn't work, so I just ended up running away. And the thing with running away is there's a few ways to do it. One, you can dive into cover, and there's all sorts of cover. Oh wait, let's talk about the Millpond for a second. This is the Millpond, which is the power source for the only flour mill in Boston for many years. It was fed by the ocean at high tide, but unfortunately it was basically stagnant water. And so there was garbage and sewage and dead animals and all sorts of things in there. And at high tide it would refill, and then at low tide it would trickle out and it would power the mill. But eventually, I think it was at 1773, did the Anima Century say, the government decided to build over it and fill it out because it was just too rank and unsanitary. So they turned it into land. And they actually filled it in with land from the top of Beacon Hill, which we're going to go and have a look at anyway. Anyway, what was I talking about? Stealthing, hiding. Yeah, so you can either run around and just outrun the guys. You can dive into various bits of cover like hay bales, you can blend with the crowd, stand on benches. And here I'm just getting into open combat to test out this new sword that I've bought. Or you can just run away, and if you keep running eventually they'll get bored. And I've always thought it a little bit lame that it's so easy to escape combat. There we are. And again, that's something I haven't really addressed. What I do like now though is, and maybe it was this last time but I certainly don't remember it, the slightly zoomed out camera when you're in combat, so that you get a better view of the field of combat. I like the fact that you've got guns, and I actually quite like the fact that guns have to reload, so you don't just kind of abuse them. Because in the last one you had your little wrist gun, and you could basically just pew 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 it, which was a little bit lame. I still haven't quite got the hang of blocking mid-combat. I think you need to pull the stick towards the guy. But there's probably training that I'll try in a minute. But I really want to see, I saw But I saw one of the trailer movies, and it had some really nice footage of Ezio, he's not Ezio, Connor, in his assassin's garb, running around in the wilderness, doing some pretty amazing chains of blocking and killing, so I kind of want to get my skills up to that level. Anyway, that was a fun bit of combat, and I'll speed it way up when I'm looting bodies, because no one wants to see that. It's just dull, it's just making a bit of money. But yeah, so the mill pond was filled in, there are some cows, and I'm just trying out smoke bombs here, so I shoot one guy, choose smoke bombs, drop them on the floor, and these guys all sort of cough and can't see, and then just run around the side of the building. So actually smoke bombs are pretty effective for escaping. And again, if they're anything like the second game, they'll be great for assassinating too, because you drop a smoke bomb, everyone goes cough, 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 and then you stamp them in the face. But I notice a lot of these buildings are actually the same. It's a kind of simple house building with a bit of a spire on it, not desperately interesting. There's a few that are a little bit different towards the end. And then there's this one, Beacon Hill, which we're quite close by. Now, Beacon Hill was a hill, obviously the tallest hill in Boston. Loot them with the back turned. And they put a beacon on top of it, and the beacon was supposed to be lit if ever the city was attacked. Now, the city wasn't ever attacked, so it never needed to get lit, and eventually the government, or I guess the local government, decided that they should do something with the hill, build on top of it. And actually what they did was cut a lot of the land off the top and use it to fill the millpond. So it became slightly less tall, but also hugely desirable, and apparently one of the most valuable places in Boston. So there we are. But right now it's just a beacon by the dockyards. Anyway, from here into the hay bale. Sorry, it took me a while to spot that. And then we're going to run down this way, and there's past a guard encampment on the right, and then climbing this building. And I try to vary it up a bit when I'm climbing, but ultimately, if all these buildings, see, this one's basically identical to the last one, it's just in a different place. If all these buildings are the same, it's not a great deal of fun to be climbing. That was one of the things I really liked about, well, the last game and the first one actually. All the viewpoints tended to be quite different, and they were all quite a challenge to climb in one way or another. Like you may have noticed on the beacon I had to move to the side, there wasn't just a straight route up. There was a lot more of that maze type climbing, and I'd hardly call having to move a little bit to the left once a maze. But I quite enjoy that. Anyway, up on the roofs for a bit, I wanted to see how that worked. Find some guards, they go down pretty quickly. And it's also interesting to see that when you're shot at, you don't lose a lot of health. And it comes back pretty quickly. Look, I've lost like a fraction of health there. And it's already regenerated. And then when I'm looting this guy, and look, the gun quite often disappears when you're reloading it, which is pretty pathetic. You would have thought, if you're going to be reloading a lot, that would be one thing they'd checkpoint collected. Sorry there, I mashed the right bumper. But yeah, I'm still trying to work out exactly how these counters work. So I'll practice that. And in the next mission coming up, there's a requirement to kill like a huge group of guys and also take down a snitch, but we'll see that in a minute. It's kind of a nasty challenge. Took a few goes to get right. But into the hay, and we're coming towards the end here after this sort of open fight. I wanted to take these guys down before in the neck. And then there's like 5 or 6 behind them. And this is quite interesting. These guys will engage, but then a couple will stand off and shoot. I guess endangering my buddies technically. But again, I'm struggling to see how the combo method works. I'm getting a little bit of it, but it's still not brilliant. I shot him. That seems like a better way to deal with it. And these guys all tend to have cartridge on them, so if you do shoot during combat, you can easily get it back by looting the bodies afterwards. But then it's down the side of the docks, and up onto the roofs again. I wanted to have a bit of a roof challenge here, and I just kind of run past these guys, and you'll see again, even though the thing's gone yellow, it's pretty easy to avoid them. You just get out of their line of vision. The thing is, if you're spotted by another guard in the yellow circle will extend again. So that's why it's good to keep to the rooftops as opposed to dropping down. There's some guys going berserk behind me, but it's okay. And then this one is the one, see again, it's just the same building model. And that's a bit, I don't know, lame, cheap, honestly. We'll kill these guys. When there's an almanac page that I missed, so I'm already blowing away now. I didn't even notice in the heat of combat. But I want to pick up the map and go through and find them so you guys don't have to. The almanac page is lost. I think I noticed it there. Anyway, I think while I'm looting these bodies, a couple more guys come up. And go down pretty quickly. Combat in this, I mean, much like the last game, it's pretty straightforward and you don't lose a lot of health and it comes back pretty quickly. But here you can see there's a couple of guards shooting at me and there's bullets flying past, but once you make it up here, you're safe again. I'll be interested to see what this looks like on the PC, to be honest, because the draw distances on the Xbox aren't great, and they've suffered from some pretty aggressive fogging. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think the PC will do it justice. I might upload some comparison videos when it launches in, 20-30 days. I think it comes out at the end of November. And it's just I prefer recording on a PC too, assuming they've made an effort to make the graphics nice. Anyway, staying to the roofs again. Is this the one where there's some guards? Yeah, I think on the right. And there's one of the clocks that's moving, which is kind of interesting. But climbing up here, no guards yet. This might indeed be the second to last one. You would think again that if they're going to give a close-up of his foot on top of something, they'd work to make sure that the foot actually touches the object and it doesn't look like it's floating. But anyway, viewpoint synchronized, and we're off to the last one, which is pretty close by. That's the old Corner Bookstore, and apparently Charles Dickens went there at one point. And the entry for that's quite funny, it's worth reading. It's vaguely insulting of American education. And look, there's a wind vane. Anyway, this is the penultimate one. There's one more from here, but it's just nice to explore Boston. As I mentioned in a previous video, it's always worth just unlocking all the viewpoints at the beginning, because then you've got the city unlocked, you can see what's coming, shops will pop up more readily as you unlock them, and so forth. And it's a nice way to get a handle on how the city fits together. Anyway, this is the last one. This one's finally a slightly different model. It's a bit more grand and it's got some parapets and stuff. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the run around Boston. See you in the next video. Lots of love. Bye!